Welcome to Cougan's Corner. Today I'm going to give you some more tips. It has to do with college. Particularly, I'm going to tell you how to study for an exam so that you can do very well and so that you can put the least amount of time into studying. Whenever you're given an assignment for a particular chapter, let's say that it's chapter 4 or whatever, one of the things that you want to make sure that you do is you want to scan through the chapter. You want to start from the beginning. You want to look at the headlines, and you want to look at the first sentence at the beginning of every headline. For example, if you have something that's talking about, this is saying tribalization, it's a history book, I can look at the first sentence, and then I can kind of look at the first sentence of each paragraph and continue to look at the pictures and look through the whole thing until I get to the very end. And if you're at the last page and it has a review section or questions, read over those questions. The reason why that's as important is whenever you get ready to read through this for real the first time, you can have those questions in your mind and you'll be able to answer those or be looking for them as you go through. Now, this is a little bit of prep work as you're going through this, but as it gives you an overview of what you're about to look at, it's going to get into your head better. Now, there are several things that you can do. Everybody has their own reading speed that they go at, but I want to tell you a quick way to be able to improve your reading speed. It's real simple. I've taken all kinds of speed reading programs, but really it just boils down to, first of all, not mouthing the words. If you find yourself just kind of speaking the words as you're reading, then you're going to be a slow reader. Instead, you want to look at many words as you can in chunks. And also, whenever you're looking at the page, and you probably can't, I don't know how well you can see that, you'll just have to visualize it. But what you do is you put your eyes and you start right about here, and you look at 3 or 4 words, and then you move over, and you don't want to go all the way over here. You want to stop right at the edge of where the words are, and you go back and forth. You can use a pencil. Some people like to do that to keep their eyes on track, and you want to practice that, scanning as fast as you can while being able to still read the words, but you also want to be able to comprehend. You know, it's one thing to read fast and to see the words, but if you're not comprehending it, you're really wasting your time because you're not going to learn anything. So you need to read at a speed that's going to allow you to be able to comprehend. And one thing that'll help you do this, to be able to comprehend what you're reading, is to visualize it. As you're reading these things, try to imagine it happening, whatever it's talking about. And one of the things that'll help you to really remember is if you can somehow make it into like a cartoon, something that's ridiculous. And as you're going through that, it'll help you to be able to really remember that. And whenever you finish reading a section, you need to think about it for a second and think about what it covered. Now, this takes a little bit of extra time, but if you do this right, whenever you read through it, you'll just have to read through it that one time after you have scanned over that initial scan in the beginning that I was telling you about. And so that makes it very helpful to be able to really get that information into your head. Now, as you do this, especially if you're having to remember lists and things like that, I want to mention another technique that you can use that will allow you to remember like a list of things. Sometimes it might be saying, that a banana is yellow, it's soft, it's nutrition, it has vitamin A, and you have all these lists of things that are on there. Well, one of the things that you can do is a simple trick is to take the letter of those lists, the first letter of whatever that is, and try to make a word out of it, or try to make a phrase out of it. And so if the first letter is F, you might say find an igloo in July. It could be something ridiculous like that. Because whenever you have the first letter of each of these bullets, it makes it possible for you to know at least that word in that bullet, one of those things, that it begins with the letter F. It allows you to be able to think of that a lot easier than if you're just trying to remember that list altogether. And so anything that you can associate with whatever you're studying, you're trying to remember, with something that you know very well, that is something that makes it easier for you to be able to do well on a test. Another technique that you can do, and I've taken all kinds of memory programs, but this is a down and dirty version of it. What you want to do is you want to have a look at your house, for example, in your living room. You probably have a couch and a chair and a TV and maybe a piano or whatever. You want to pick 5 things out of that room, and you want to choose those as pegs. And what that means is, like, your couch will be peg number 1, your chair will be peg number 2, your TV will be peg number 3. And what you want to do is, if you're trying to remember a list of some kind, you want to visualize whatever that is, whether it's a person's name or whether it's a banana like I've been talking about. To say it was a banana, well, you could visualize a banana or a big gorilla, let's say, eating a banana on your couch. I mean, you think of something like that, it is not going to go out of your head. And you do that with each and every one of your pegs. And you start out with 5, like in your living room, and you can have 5 in your kitchen, you can have 5 in your bedroom, bathroom, and you can grow that number. Those that are memory experts that go off and they go to these memory challenges, they have these big memory palaces, and they'll drive down the road for like a mile and they'll count the things along the way that they see every day, and they may have 50 or 100 different pegs that they use to associate things with. That's how they're able to memorize a deck of cards and know which card's coming next and that sort of thing. And so you can utilize that simple technique if you want to be able to memorize a list. And so I highly recommend that you do that. Of course, the more that you study, the more you read over something, the better it'll be. Now, another key ingredient to being able to make sure that you're able to be at your full potential of being able to learn things is another technique, and I believe it was created in Japan. I think that's where I heard this at. But anyway, what you do is set a timer. Set a timer for 20 or 25 minutes, whichever you feel comfortable with. And during that 20 and 25 minutes, you focus on nothing but studying. But then, when your timer goes off, you need to stop. And you need to go do something else for 5 or 10 minutes. And 5 minutes is actually plenty enough. But get up and move around, go do something else. And then come back and set your timer again, 20, 25 minutes, and continue studying. It's been proven and shown that the longer you study, when you first start studying, your comprehension's way up here. But the longer you study, if you don't take a break, it just continues to go downhill and downhill. And you could be studying for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, but if you're down here at this bottom area, you're not getting it into your head. But if you take that break and you're going for 20 minutes and it starts dipping down, start losing your attention, and then you take that 5-minute break, then it will refresh you, and then you start right back up again where you started at when you come back. So it's very important. I know it sounds maybe kind of silly, maybe like a waste of time, but try it. I can promise you, you'll be able to learn a whole lot more. You'll be able to get it in your head if you'll do things in 20 to 25 minute intervals with taking a 5 or 10 minute break in between. And so these are my tips for you to be able to do much better on your test and to be able to pay attention better whenever it comes to reading a book and being able to get through it quicker. And so the important part is just to make sure that you are putting forth the effort. And even if you don't make an A, if you make a B or a C, just make sure that you do your best. If you find these things helpful, then I hope you will subscribe and that you will click on that notification tab. I'd also like to hear any tips that you might have down in the comments about what you do in order to study for a particular test, to make it easier for you to be able to make an A with the least amount of effort.